NIV in Luke chapter 16, starting in verse 1. Jesus told his disciples there was a man, a rich man, whose manager was accused of wasting his possessions. So he called him in and asked him, "What is this I hear about you? Give an account of your management, because you cannot be manager any longer." The manager said to himself, "What should I do now? My master is taking away my job. I'm not strong enough to dig, and I'm ashamed to beg. I know what I'll do so that when I lose my job, people will welcome me into their houses." So he called in each of his master's debtors. He asked the first, "How much do you owe my master?" 800 gallons of olive oil, he replied. The manager told him, "Take your bill, sit down quickly, and make it 400. Then he asked the second, "And how much do you owe?" 1,000 bushels of wheat, he replied. He told him, "Take your bill and make it 800. The master commended the dishonest manager, notice dishonest manager, because he had acted shrewdly. For the people of this world are more shrewd in dealing with their own kind than are the people of the light. I tell you, use worldly wealth to gain friends for yourselves, so that when it is gone, you will be welcomed into eternal dwellings." There's actually a little bit that goes on, but I just want to stop there. So, what is the overall picture that's drawn in this parable and the one we read here in Luke chapter 16?
The end justifies the means.
Okay? The ends justify the means. That sounds very worldly.
Which is funny is I never have got this parable. I've always wondered. I'm sure there's something in here I'm not getting, but it does not make sense to me. But that made more sense. I understood a little better.
Are you saying they're better than Jesus?
No, I just didn't understand the way it was worded about why would he reward him for being dishonest again.
Here's what I wrote down. A dishonest businessman cheats his boss and is fired, but he gets his job back by cutting deals with the boss's debtors.
Yep.
The overall picture, right?
Mm-hmm.
Find for me the word shrewd. It's in, maybe not NIV, but it's a
No, it is there.
yeah, shrewd manager, shrewd steward. What shrewd? What does that mean?
Clever enough to come out ahead.
Mm-hmm.
Give me some synonyms to the word shrewd.
Clever.
Clever, yeah.
Yeah.
Slick, right?
Scheming.
Scheming. Worldly, maybe.
Would you say dishonest?
Yeah.
Dishonest. Is dishonesty a good thing?
No.
So here astute.
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 Astute. So is Jesus approving of deception, dishonesty, and shrewdness?
Seemingly so. I told you I still don't get this one.
If a person is bad, can they still be good?
Yes.
This is perhaps actually one of the most difficult parables that Jesus told when really getting at the root of things and understanding some of the negativity that comes into it that works out for the good. But go ahead, Jim.
Didn't he also say, "Be as shrewd as vipers and as harmless as doves"?
Okay.
I think it's verse 9 that I don't understand.
Okay, well, let's look at that. Verse 9. I tell you, use worldly wealth to gain friends for yourselves, so that when it is gone, you'll be welcomed into eternal dwellings. Oh, that has a strange
Yep, buy your
flavor
friends.
to it.
Yeah.
But if you'll be welcome and eternal dwellings, that means you are using worldly wealth to make friends in eternal dwellings.
Okay.
So maybe he is referring actually to give it away to help others.
Mhm.
So you make friends an eternal dwelling by being generous.
Jim?
This seems contradictory when you look at the parable of the two sons. And the one used his worldly mammon to make friends, but when it was gone, he was alone.
Yeah. This is the precarious nature of parables that we need to make sure we don't get too caught up in the weeds, as it were, to see the bigger picture. So let's look at first of all the characters here. There's a rich man, he owns a business, and he has a manager. This manager, this steward, he's in charge of the estate, right? And he actually cheated his boss. In some way there was something dishonest, did something wrong. The problem was that the rich man heard about this steward of his cheating, okay? Probably he overcharged people. Maybe he embezzled the money, like it says in the story here. But anyway, he was called to give an account, right? You know, give an account for what's going on here. Now, was he fired or was he demoted?
Fired.
We couldn't.
Yeah, pretty much fired.
No, he left.
Fired with kind of like, I'm firing you, and it's not quite exactly final, but it's going in that direction, or maybe it is final. I don't know.
Well, he's fired from the job he has.
Mhm.
He said you cannot be manager any longer, so.
So now that this guy is, we'll just say, unemployed, what is his approach now to handling this?
Oops.
Yeah, well, oops initially, but what did he began to consider how he would make the best of this situation, right?
He found favor in the people that own his manager by giving them a discount or a break
Okay.
on there, so now they feel indebted.
So before we get there, what were his other options? Do you remember in the story? It came out here too, but also in the prayer. What are his options?
Dig a ditch.
Go back to running a combine.
Yeah.
Yeah, working hard, working your nails to the bone, right?
Shoe factory.
Yeah, shoe factory in there. And, or he could go out and beg. Doesn't want to do those two things, so being the shrewd person that he is, well, he comes up with what Ebony said. Go ahead, Jim.
He also thought about going to some of the others and trying to get the same job he had with them.
Yeah, thought about that. So he is going to endear himself to the clients of his boss, okay? Either they're going to take him in because they're so nice that he's been nice to them, or the master is going to be pleased, right? That this guy was so shrewd. So kind of really both things happened, didn't they? The people were pleased with him, thereby pleased with his boss, and his boss now is pleased with him. So this guy really made the best of it. Look at chapter 16 now, verse 5. I want to read it now again, verse 5. So he called to each one of his master's debtors. He asked the first, "How much do you owe my master?" 800 gallons of olive oil, he replied. The manager told him, "Take your bill, sit down, quickly," now look at that, quickly, make a quick decision, and make it 400. And then he asked the second, "How much do you owe?" 1,000 bushels of wheat, he replied. He told him, "Take your bill and make it 800. So, pretty slick. He comes up with a way to possibly keep his job. I mean, actually, in the final analysis, the boss could have still said, "Hey, I don't like the way you did this," and fire him, but he's already been fired anyway, so might as well try something, right? And that's what he does. So, look at Luke 16:10. And what's the purpose of the parable then? I didn't read verse 10, did I?
No.
So verse 10, whoever can be trusted with very little can also be trusted with much. And whoever is dishonest with very little will be dishonest with much. So what's the purpose of the parable?
Beats me. I have a footnote that says, by helping those in need who in the future will show their gratitude when they welcome their benefactors into heaven, in this way worldly wealth can be used wisely to gain eternal benefits.
Now, of course, this doesn't mean that when we get into eternity and we're there at the pearly gates, that there are people that are going to say, hey, I vouch for John, he really did good, he was nice to me and everything, and on that basis God's going to let him into heaven. But still, it's nice to have people that think well of you, you know?
Have your back.
Yeah, and if the manager didn't like, or I'm sorry, the boss didn't like what the manager did, well, at least this manager would maybe be liked by people that he cut a deal for him. So I'm going to throw out a few things. To me, you know, although we don't like worldly people who seem to maybe rip people off or take advantage of a situation or whatever, to me, one of the things that comes out is the value of clear-headed thinking. You know, the guy doesn't panic, and he doesn't just go crawl in a hole somewhere. He decides, I need to think this through, there's got to be a solution, and he thinks through everything that, you know, his options. And, you know, knowing how to be faithful in our stewardship, that's a big thing. You know, God, as I sometimes will say in sermons, God has given us some monopoly money to play with. And if we can handle that, then we can handle the true riches in heaven. Isn't that what it says? Look at verse 11. Jesus says, so if you have not been trustworthy in handling worldly wealth, then who will trust you with true riches? So that's a big part of the parable as well.
Like combining our street smarts with our spiritual wisdom.
Yeah.
To be more resourceful, you know.
Yeah, and there's another thing comes to my mind as well. You know, sometimes in life you have to own up to your mistakes. I blew it. You know, I can do this better. Need to come up with a better plan. I didn't do the right thing. You know, the manager ripped off his boss somehow, and so, hey, own it. You did it. You did. You know. Now what are you going to do now? You blew it. So owning up to our mistakes and then acting decisively to make the best of it. And yeah, faithfulness in material things. God's given us some things to be in possession of and manage, and that's going to have an effect on how we then handle our spiritual blessings as well, and ultimately, of course, the reward of heaven. The thing is, look at verse 12. Watch verse 12. Jesus says, and if you've not been trustworthy with someone else's property, who will give you property of your own? So, stewardship is a very important thing to God. How we handle the material blessings is not something we can take lightly. I mean, we have people that have a lot of credit card debt today. I'm not talking to anybody in this room right now, okay? Or whatever, how we don't handle money properly, you know, that's going to be maybe a window of how we view our spiritual blessings as well. Yeah, Jim?
Maybe the emphasis is on not losing your job. Maybe that's what we should be focusing on. Be careful with other people's resources, be honest, be faithful. Even though we're faithful over a little, I mean, it's little to you, it's your boss's stuff, but maybe that's what the focus should be.
I think the big question is, am I a faithful steward? That's the bottom line right here. Am I going to use material things to bless others like this guy did? Am I going to be faithful in the small things so God can give me the big things? That's another way of putting it. And, well, I read a commentary by this guy, his name's Lightfoot. He said, people of the world have more energy and foresight in the exercise of their material concerns than Christians have in the practice of Christianity. Well, that's something that's a black mark against us if we're not, you know, showing resourcefulness like people in the world do. So, you know, Jesus is not blessing a very worldly person. He's blessing someone who handles worldly things in a spiritual way. I mean, that's really what's happening in the story. What are some professions today where people are very shrewd to the point where you feel like maybe they're ripping you off. What are some professions today?
Car dealer.
Car dealer,
Title loans.
title loans,
Insurance agents.
insurance agents,
Lawyers.
all these snakes, right? Lawyers, so I said lawyers, yeah, boy, and they charge a pretty penny, don't they? So look at these people and actually decide to yourself, I actually can see a spiritual lesson out of it. I'm going to use my mind to manage material things in such a way that shows I can handle spiritual things. Again, that's the lesson here. Look at the way people today pursue their ambitions. My ambition is my ambition just actually to be wealthy, or is my ambition to glorify God with my wealth? There's a big difference in that, isn't there? I wrote this quote down from Oscar Wilde. He says this. He says, people do not value sunsets because they cannot pay for them. What does he mean by that? People do not value sunsets because they cannot pay for them.
They probably value like a Mercedes because they have to pay a lot.
Yeah.
Or a Lamborghini
You would
or
appreciate it.
a yacht. You know, they have to work, put out a lot of effort to get it, and so they value it once they have it. But something that someone gives you, or like a sunset, it's there.
Take it for
Maybe
granted.
you'll get another one tomorrow. Yeah, you can't take it for granted.
Another little thing I found: money is a subtle poison, a weapon, a persuasive power. We must use it properly. We must conquer it.
You
Don't
need
allow.
control of it, not let it control you.
Yeah, possess it without it possessing you, right? Finally, I have another little quote I wanted to share with you. I love this one. If you make money your God, it will plague you like the devil.
Wow.
So John,
This thing about the love of money is the root of all kinds of evil. Go ahead.
so when it's saying, for the people of this world are more shrewd in dealing with their own kind than the people of the light.
Yeah.
And watching the video, it's kind of like he upped one. So maybe his manager is just as shrewd as he is and conniving, and because he was able to up him one,
Yeah.
and really at the end it still made him look good because now he's getting offers. Where as Christians we need to make sure that we're not dealing in that type of behavior, that even though you can come out on top, and like you said, he found favor in other people, but then he also made his boss look good at the same time, but it's still dishonesty. So even though in the end it was kind of a win-win for both of them, it boils down to dishonesty, and something that we should not be partaking in.
Yeah. That's the whole, you got to look at the dishonesty element of the parable and say, God's not telling us to be dishonest, but he is admiring people who do very unique things with money to actually have a spiritual outcome.